Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're taking a look at 10 Twisted Metal theories that might actually be true.
Please feed me! I need souls!
I am Calypso, and I thank you for playing Twisted Metal.
Though it seems more straightforward in premise, but Twisted Metal does have quite a bit of a confusing lore and backstory that has left fans somewhat perplexed. However, some of these theories have been solid attempts at making sense of the whole thing. Do you have a Twisted Metal theory of your own? Share with us down in the comments.
Death, that your cursed contest has rained down upon us all. It ends tonight. Oh, it ends tonight, Calypso.
Before we begin, we publish new videos all week long, so be sure to subscribe to MojoPlays and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. Y2K Aftermath. The biggest mystery of Twisted Metal is how the tournament is even possible in the first place. Seriously, how has there not been a worldwide effort to bring down Calypso and stop the tournament from even happening? Well, Reddit user Flamnell makes an interesting theory involving the time the series launched. As the new millennium drew closer and closer, more and more folks were growing paranoid over the possibility of Y2K occurring. Flamnell theorizes that in Twisted Metal, Y2K did actually happen, causing society to collapse and thus allowing Calypso to freely run the tournament. Plus, the prize being one wish would attract the most unhinged members of whatever little society remained. The Jolly Roger flag.
If you ever want to see your Cersei Widow Foggy again, you gotta play my game!
GameFAQs user DreadTM may have found an interesting connection between two very odd titles, Twisted Metal Small Brawl and the often forgotten naval combat game Critical Depth. Small Brawl's cutscenes feature a neighborhood that is eerily similar to one featured in Critical Depth. Not only that, but Small Brawl's treehouse level, which is built by Slam, as you can tell from all the construction equipment laying around, features a Jolly Roger flag that looks just like the one found on Captain Cutlass's ship in Critical Depth. Considering how out of place the Jolly Roger flag is, and again, with all that construction equipment laying around, we wouldn't be surprised if Captain Cutlass really is Slam's father. Besides, it is kind of cool to think of Critical Depth as like this hidden corner of the Twisted Metal franchise. A winnerverse.
Within seconds, the souls of the dead had carried me away. Some say they dropped me in the busy streets of New York. Others think I'm still being carried on the night wind.
One of the weirdest parts of Twisted Metal is how very little continuation there is between titles. A specific detail that Reddit user Estes Wick points out is how certain characters, like Sweet Tooth, are treated as winners of previous tournaments. The same also applies when talking about Minion.
Minion, it's so good to see you again.
Estes Wick theorizes that Calypso, with his supernatural demon powers, pulls winners from different universes for new tournaments across space and time. This would certainly explain why vehicles like Shadow, Hammerhead, and Mr. Grimm have different drivers in just about every game, as well as why none of the games seem to have anything to do with each other. Emphasis on seems to, but we'll get to that in a little bit.
I did just that. Fulfilling my end of the bargain, I, the mighty Calypso, caused the world to become a battleground.
The Kane Family Tree.
How I hated that name.
Say cheese.
For some bizarre reason, the Kanes have sort of been throwing some people off. The games try to make it as clear as possible. Charlie is the father of Marcus, who has adopted the persona of Needles, which is Sweet Tooth's driver. However, the kid in Twisted Metal Black is where some folks seem to get turned around. Some believe this might be Marcus, but Marcus is typically depicted with split personalities, switching between his real identity and Needles.
I have a brother, but my dad won't let me talk about him. He says my brother became really, really bad when he started driving this ice cream truck.
However, the ending for Yellow Jacket implies the kid grew up to become the next Sweet Tooth since, he killed him in combat. Perhaps he grew up to be the one that we saw in the very first game. Even more confusing is that some of the dialogue between Needles and Calypso in later games almost come off as if the two might be related to each other in some way. Who can say? The story is all over the place.
The only thing I could think was, what a waste. All those people I hadn't killed yet.
How we got TM1 Sweet Tooth. Whether you believe the youngest Kane became TM1 Sweet Tooth or not, there is another possible explanation for the drastically different design in the older games. GameFAQs user StarG Gundam 2 believes that the Needles Kane we saw in TM1 was in a different phase of his mental being before we got the flaming clown head killer we know.
You don't know what it was like for me. And I, and you, and them. You don't know!
StarG states that Needles might have regressed to his childhood, where he formed an imaginary friend which he would project onto a paper bag which we saw in a deleted scene. And all of this resulted from an abusive father, that being Charlie Kane, the driver of Yellow Jacket.
Oh man! Give me that! Give me!
A paper bag? You can't be serious.
Calypso's past life.
You stole my powers, Calypso, 11 years ago, stripping me of my birthright. Now it is time to pay the price.
The 2012 rendition of Calypso is an interesting one, as it goes against almost every other version we've seen of the Mad Man. One aspect of him is in a cutscene where one shot shows various items on display. Most of these are artifacts taken from other characters from across the franchise, which further supports the winnerverse theory, by the way. But one artifact that has us curious about Calypso is the Blades of Chaos. Kratos has never appeared in Twisted Metal though. So was Calypso there during the events of God of War, millennia before Twisted Metal was even a thought? Well, it sort of leads into our next entry.
Time to rot in hell with your little sister.
Prior to Twisted Metal Black, we all knew Calypso was a servant of Satan. Before that, he was a husband and a father. But in Black and TM12, Calypso took on a whole new identity, while still retaining the menacing mystical powers that are capable of granting drivers their wish.
I'll find you, Calypso. I'll find you and kill you. You will.
Clearly, this is not the same William Sparks from the first couple of games. This is a being much more unholy, one more sinister, one who is looking to hoard souls and bring an end to mankind. And given that only one old Biber Thumper is calling him out, there's only one creature that can be Calypso's true identity.
We shall tear down your tower of sin! Oh, I know who you are.
Pit Viper's Disappearance. Pit Viper has a really weird reputation as being the only vehicle in the franchise to never reappear after one game, not counting the TM12 vehicles. The buggy only ever showed in the first Twisted Metal. What happened after that? Well, we got Grasshopper in Twisted Metal 2, and it just kinda filled the Dune buggy role in future titles. Perhaps Pit Viper was replaced because of Grasshopper's more vibrant appearance. Series co-creator David Jaffe did confirm Pit Viper was planned to return as DLC for TM12, but it was ultimately scrapped alongside Twister. To this day, it is unknown why Pit Viper has never been included in any other game.
Well, I can tell you Scott did an amazing model of Twister, and I think he was doing one of Pit Viper, and I think he was working on one other one, and they were amazing.
Everything to do with TM Black.
The contest was over. so I went and saw Calypso.
Twisted Metal Black is by far the most mysterious game in the franchise, and we aren't just saying that for that infamous number code. However, that code does put a lot of things into question. If Black's world is not real, and it all takes place within Sweet Tooth's head, then what exactly is happening in the real world?
It was the first time in forever I hadn't felt the burning and the dreams. Boys and girls, those were some wonderful dreams.
Is Calypso just a figment of his imagination? Did all of this take place moments before Sweet Tooth's execution? Where exactly does Black fit in within Twisted Metal's disjointed and ever-changing timeline? These questions have led many fans to form their own theories on the game's meaning.
Now that I'm free, I'm going to be the greatest of all time.
TM12's connection to TM Black.
Maybe it was my fault, but I had my own problems to worry about.
Over on the Game Theorist subreddit, user D2 Vincent came up with a rather convincing argument that possibly connects TM12 with TM Black. So as we mentioned earlier, the number code says that Twisted Metal Black takes place within Sweet Tooth's head. What if these events were all based on memories of the people he killed before he died in the coffin in TM12? As D2 Vincent states, various articles from doctors, nurses, and family members have described the process of dying involving very lucid dreams, specifically dreams about people in their lives who have died before. Perhaps the events of Black happened while Sweet Tooth was banging away on the coffin, slowly suffocating and forcing to remember the faces of all those people whose lives he took.
The sheer volume of people I'd killed, it was breathtaking. But like all good things, it had to end sometime.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from MojoPlays, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.